Hi everyone, welcome to this special episode of Ignition Time. I'm smiling because this is an important episode. This is an important episode because it highlights the importance of women not only in the economic recovery of our country of America, but in the global economic recovery. I'll also highlight what exactly has been the impact, the disproportionate impact on women during the past 12 months of this horrific pandemic. This is a subject that's actually close to my heart because I live with three amazing women, three different generations. My mom lives with me, then there's my wife, and then there's my 2-year-old daughter. These are three very strong women, and you can I try and get by, let's just put it that way. But let's just jump right into the important components of this video. Here's the headline of an article published by Bloomberg. As always, you'll get the links to all of our resources in the description section below. Women could give a $20 trillion boost to the global economy by the year 2050 as more and more women achieve their full potential through the right opportunities in education, through the right opportunities in different aspects of the global economy. Women are expected to essentially catch up and potentially even exceed what men are doing, and this could result in a significant expansion of the entire global economy in the next 30 years. Here's a surprising statistic. Women aged between 25 and 64 compared to men aged between 25 and 64. If you look at the global statistics, globally, 58.4% of women in this age group work versus 92.1% of men in the same age group globally. According to this reporting by Bloomberg, if women are educated at the same levels as men, and if there are policy changes in governments across the world, we could bolster access to education for women. And if there are flexible work arrangements, then this has the potential to significantly boost global growth, the growth of the entire global economy. Let's show you this chart on your screen that says empower women, boost growth. Ending gender inequality when it comes to work would help lift the global gross domestic product by 2050. And as you can see on that chart, the darker sections represent more gender inequality at this point in time, where more work needs to be done in order to make sure that women can essentially get access to the same opportunities, potentially more opportunities than men. But the darker the section, the more the inequality at this moment in time, and the more work that needs to be done in order to be able to get a $20 trillion boost to the global economy by the year 2050. Now, let's get closer to home and let's take a look at an article from the Wall Street Journal on International Women's Day, a look back at the last year in the pandemic for working women. Now, you've already heard me mention this before on my channel. This pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on African American communities, on Hispanic communities, on individuals with a lower income level, on individuals of certain age groups. But in this video, I'm going to focus specifically on the impact on women. Women have dropped out of the labor workforce. In fact, African American women have been disproportionately impacted relative to any other demographic of gender as well as ethnicity. But since we are working on the economic impact specifically on women in this episode of Ignition Time, let's show you this quote on your screen from the Wall Street Journal. Millions of women have lost jobs or left the workforce, and working mothers have endured a caregiving crunch as the pandemic has thrust schooling, childcare, and work under one roof for so many families. Now, this is some pretty incredible reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Now, what's interesting is that normally during recessions, women tend to fare better than men, but this pandemic has been completely different. Here's a quote from the Wall Street Journal. Women have lost a disproportionate number of jobs, partly because women make up more of the lower income service and retail positions that vanished as the pandemic gripped the economy. And some mothers of young children have reduced hours or stopped working altogether, presumably because they were focused on caring for their children. Here are some more statistics from the Wall Street Journal. Women's participation in the labor force has slipped down to 57%, the lowest it has been since 1988. Among mothers with children under 13 years old, labor force participation rate declined by 3.4 percentage points between February and October of last year of 2020, compared to 1.4% for fathers. And so this is pretty incredible. Also, more than 2.3 million women have dropped out of the labor force during the pandemic, and you compare that with 1.8 million men, and this is data from the National Women's Law Center. The Wall Street Journal also reports that the pandemic has been especially hard on single parents, many of them women, and it's hard to hire babysitters, or online classes may or may not make sense all the time. So this creates a lot of challenges for single women in particular. Since schools have been closed, since you can't really have a caregiver just walk into your home and teach your kids in the middle of this pandemic, at least not at the moment. Some women have made painful career choices, according to the Wall Street Journal. In fact, a McKinsey survey, which surveyed over 40,000 women in North America, which by the way includes the United States and Canada, found that more than 1 in 4 women essentially were downsizing their jobs. In other words, what they were doing was downshifting their careers or leaving the workforce completely. Now, it's not all doom and gloom as far as women are concerned. The Wall Street Journal reports that there are more and more women CEOs in some of the top companies in America. So 40 women are running Fortune 500 companies, and 2 African American women will soon be joining that list. But folks, this is about not just women who are CEOs. This is about everyday women facing challenges as a direct result of the pandemic. So we are facing unforeseen challenges. We are facing challenges as a direct result of this pandemic that very few of us could have anticipated, because the pandemic essentially defies all economic downturn models. This is a recession unlike any other. Hopefully, we'll never see a recession like this again. Hopefully, we can all recover from this and get back to life as we know it. And hopefully, with more opportunities, educational opportunities and other opportunities, women can get the same, if not better, jobs than men. Because in the end, this will contribute economically to the entire world. This will boost the gross domestic product of the world. This will result in more transactions, larger transactions, a higher standard of living all over the world. Speaking of all over the world, let me show you this tweet on your screen from Reed Wilson, who's a correspondent for The Hill. And this adds more of a global dimension to this entire discussion. So Reed reports that wealthy nations are poised to reach herd immunity from this pandemic by the middle of this year or early fall, but it's not the case, unfortunately, for poor nations. Vaccine rollout is going so slowly in Africa that the continent will not reach herd immunity until the end of 2023 or even 2024. And keep in mind, these poor nations are simply not getting access to the vaccines that they need. And despite the fact that rich countries are saying, yep, we'll send you vaccines, it's simply not going as planned, because the rich countries have their hands full with trying to convince their own residents to get vaccinated with their own vaccine distributions. And that is what we are in the middle of right now.